Setting money goals is really the name of the game. And the secret ingredient, yes, it's compound interest, but it's time. The time that helps shape this valley in Yosemite. We don't have that much time, but we can use time to our advantage to lower the chances of investment danger. Think rich. How do millionaires and billionaires think and act? You might feel you've missed out on wealth creation, and you hear about folks hitting it big in the stock market, Bitcoin, trading options, growing real estate, starting a business, or the more traditional, slow and steady buy and hold retirement savings and investing. Maybe you have friends or relatives you might be jealous of or wonder about their success. And P.S., we really don't know what is in their heart, or much less their wallet. What is their real net worth? For with money, many folks can put on a good show, displaying the trappings of wealth using credit, evading taxes, cutting corners in business, ignoring ethics. Now, I'm not being cynical, but please just don't get anxious about others and what you might perceive their money, what it is and is not, and how they got it, and also how they maintain it. But you do you. Find your vision, do what you can control, align your talents and life purpose, and how to handle, learn, and think about money, which will serve you as you serve others. These millionaires and billionaires have done just that. Today, we dig into thinking rich. What you need to know are the fundamental researched skill sets, beliefs, and habits of the very, very wealthy. And I'm going to put a list of these book props into the comments section. And so this segment is based on these 4 books. And one of the most prominent is one that's been around a long time called The Millionaire Next Door. Welcome to What's Next with Money, a program about recognizing and moving on from financial regret, missed opportunities, and bad advice, because within these crises lie the seeds of learning and hope. This program holds the promise of second chances, strategies for growth, and financial empowerment. Let's get started as we think rich together. So, The Millionaire Next Door, The Habits of Billionaire, much of these ideas are from self-made people who really didn't receive an inheritance. But if you are fortunate enough to actually get an inheritance, many of these principles will help you keep and grow a fortune. So as they say, it's not how much you earn, it's how much you keep. There are many factors that can erode what the rich keep. Credit, overspending, lawsuits, divorce, tax problems, fraud, and theft. So first, we're going to look at self-made billionaires. We're going to start at the top. The key principles from the book, How to Be a Billionaire by Martin Fridson. And I've selected these principles as they apply to personal finance. So the first one is pursue the money in ideas. This means the billionaires are not pursuing the money for money. They are trying to fix a problem, give value, improve something, create a new service. The next one is rules are breakable, but you need to learn them first. This is the area of contrary thinking and knowing what others have tried and what worked and what didn't. The next area is copying pays better than innovating. So this is the idea of finding things that are already profitable and replicating them and doing that business in a new way to solve a problem. Let's take a couple of examples. Howard Schultz, the leader of Starbucks, he got the idea from traveling to Italy about this notion of a third place away from work and home, and it was the coffee shop. He didn't invent Starbucks, he bought the company, which was a very small company in the Seattle area. The same goes for Ray Kroc of McDonald's. He scaled McDonald's through franchising and uniform standards. He didn't invent McDonald's, he bought it. Ray Kroc was a milkshake machine salesman and found that the brothers, McDonald brothers running these operations in California were buying many of the machines, and they were just churning out great customers and great profits. The next area is keep on growing. And this is the idea of taking your business to scale, your enterprise to scale, and not hopping right away to another business. You look for profitability and you learn from the improvements you're making as you grow. The focus is on growth. Now, there are many great billionaires who have become serial entrepreneurs. And I'll give you two examples. Jeff Bezos not only created Amazon, the buying and selling of books and many things over the web, but he created, as a consequence of keeping this great data infrastructure, AWS, Amazon Web Services, which is a highly profitable second giant business. A gentleman named Wayne Huizinga grew waste management into the legend that it is around the world. But he also created AutoNation, was an early investor in the famed but very old Blockbuster video chain, and even created Extended Stay America Lodging. So that was a serial entrepreneur. Here's the next area. Hold on to your equity. At What's Next with Money, we talk a lot about the power of ownership for multi-generations, but also to give you control and your way you can chart your own financial destiny. So here's a short story about holding on to your equity. When Walt Disney opened Disneyland in California in 1955, he was so short of money, he brought in other investors, and the ABC television network was one of them. I think at one time they owned a quarter to a third of Disneyland. So Walt, with the ABC network, put on one of the longest live television broadcasts in the history of television, with ABC covering the opening of Disneyland. And to make it a great production, he brought in star talent. And as one of the hosts, and Ronald Reagan was even there at opening as one of the hosts, but one of the big main hosts was a gentleman named Art Linkletter. So he was sort of like the Ellen DeGeneres or Regis Philbin of his day. He's a famous TV host. And Walt said, Art, you're going to do this. This is a historic broadcast, but I am out of money. I can only pay you scale, which is basically the television union rate for base pay. And Art said, don't worry about it. Why don't you let me have the ownership of the film and camera booths and franchises within Disneyland for the next 5 years. That is equity ownership. So this host, for one day's work plus a lot of preparation, reaped the ownership, equity, and profits from film and camera sales at Disneyland for the next 5 years. Ownership, in many cases, is better than income. And when you read about great entrepreneurs, notice what they own and what they control, because that's how they build a lot of their wealth. The next area is very simple. Hard work is essential. Hard work is essential. And another concept for billionaires is make mistakes, but then learn from those mistakes. Make mistakes, but then learn from them. Another one is frugality pays. Actually, in the greater Denver area and other places where I've lived, great successes, you often hear the early stages of these great businesses, and many of the CEOs and founders, as they started their business, they would fly coach. They did not own private planes. They didn't go first class. They did everything to pinch a penny. And that philosophy carried down to all the employees. They were in the startup mode, and they looked at frugality as an asset. Next, enjoy the pursuit. This is the idea of building the enterprise as a team and working with others and being part of a movement, a belief system, in the new business. Ted Turner, one of my business heroes, in his great book, Call Me Ted, talked about the power of a team working together on a pursuit, an enterprise. And he has had so much satisfaction in his varied business life, but he's often reflected on those times when a group of people work together to create something of value and something very special. The next area, and the final point from the Billionaires book, is develop a thick skin. You ignore the trappings of wealth, you ignore jealousy, you have to ignore a lot of the naysayers because they're everywhere. And you have to ignore most of the negativity because you have a vision and you're there to pursue that vision, and you have to power through those naysayers. So today we're talking about thinking rich, learn to think and act like a billionaire, and the millionaire next door and the habits that they've created. So this next area is the book, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. This is kind of the dean of these millionaire studies. And I've selected, again, some insights based on their application to personal finance. And much of this, these are business, academics, social sciences that have looked from surveys and interviews. What are the common denominators among wealthy Americans? Here's the first one. They live well below their means. And this doesn't mean I live at my means, which is sort of, things could happen and you could actually start losing money, but they have a margin of safety. They have reserves. They have backup. This reminds me of Ben Graham, the godfather of value investing and an inspiration as a teacher to Warren Buffett, who wrote The Intelligent Investor. He talked about when you invest, you maintain a margin of safety. So that really is living below your means, not at your means, and certainly not above your means. Next, they allocate their time, energy, and money efficiently in ways conducive to building wealth. So they're really keeping an eye on all those variables: energy, time, and finances. Next, they believe that financial independence is more important than displaying high social status. Remember, these are the millionaires next door, so you may not even know they're millionaires. And through their surveys, they found that this group of people, their parents did not provide economic outpatient care. They had to make it a bit on their own. They were not really subsidized. And that has passed down by a generation. The adult children of the millionaires next door are economically self-sufficient. The millionaires next door are also proficient in targeting market opportunities. And to me, this ties into they know their market, they know what service, what needs fixing, what's something that people will pay for, something people need, and they're to provide something that will meet that need. They also choose the right occupation for themselves. So this is also that area of competency. So as they go targeting good market opportunities, they know what they have to bring from their skill sets. And if they don't have those skill sets, based on that right occupation, they can hire in that talent. But a lot of times they have become already competent at some occupation. Let's say they were trained as an engineer, a business person, sometimes even an artist. They have that lens of how they look at the world and look at opportunity. And then they, as new data comes in, they bounce off that frame of reference and bring in talent that they don't have to help them be a success. Also, you can send questions to us here at What's Next with Money. Use the What's Next with Money website or the link in the comments section in the YouTube description below. Today we're talking about thinking rich, the habits of millionaires next door, and even the habits of billionaires. This next item is the next book, Getting Rich in America, 8 Simple Rules by Dwight and Richard Mckenzie. This is the idea of the first of the 8 rules is think of America as the land of choices, opportunity, really an open field. This is the idea of bringing to the marketplace and to the idea of free enterprise, the optimism. things can be done. There are still problems to solve. New millionaires and others can be created. You can reinvent yourself in America. Next, take the power of compound interest seriously and then save. We talk about that a lot here on What's Next with Money. This, to us and to these academics that have looked at these talented people, is the path to ownership. And if you do it consistently, you've really got a shot at it. Take the power of compound interest seriously and then save. Next, resist temptation. And to me, this is being ethical, but also resist the temptation of getting distracted and not focusing on your enterprise. In the old book, In Search of Excellence by Tom Peters, he talks about the concept of sticking to your knitting. Some of the great corporations of America stick with what they know, and they don't get distracted. If they have new spin-offs, they literally spin them off, take money for that, plow it back into the main business, or set up some kind of subsidiary. Next, get a good education. This ties back to what we talked about of knowing what your competencies are, but have a frame of reference, have a knowledge of what's out in the world, and a point of reference to compare new data with. Now, here's an interesting one, but it's based on the studies. Get married and stay married. We've recently seen where famous billionaires, through a divorce, can cut their net worth literally in half. So they're still billionaires, but they may have violated the stay married part of this admonition. The next one is take care of yourself. This is your mind, your health, your outlook, your relations in your community and with your family, to really have a balanced life so you can absorb the financial and business risk shocks of growing an enterprise. And speaking of risk, the next one is take prudent risks. Now, I view this from a personal finance standpoint. Is the idea somebody's creating an enterprise, a business, a retail operation, or maybe manufacturing, import, export, whatever. But in their personal financial life, they want to de-risk their money and their savings and their assets. So they're likely to put that money into index funds, bonds, low cost, simple ways where they really buy the market of different assets, and they're not trading options or doing extra exotic things with their money because they're doing very exotic, sometimes risky things in their business life. So they de-risk the capital that they're creating and their reserves. They live within that margin of safety. Next is strive for balance. This is the notion of honesty, commitment to the enterprise, and integrity. It's ethics in the business and being in the business for the long run. Now we live in a world where there's active social media, cameras everywhere, whistleblowers who are literally financially incentivized to call out wrongdoing. And that can, if somebody's really messing up and not living a balanced life or cutting corners in their business, their reputation is shot. We're talking today about thinking rich, and here are some more tidbits from the Millionaire Mind book, which is actually a bigger book here, also by Thomas Stanley, who helped write The Millionaire Next Door. So here are a few key quotes. On average, the millionaires are not trying to impress anyone. And this is a quote. There's an inverse relationship between the time they spend purchasing luxury items such as vacations, cars, clothes, yachts, and the time they spend planning their financial future. So they don't focus on the trappings or the outward appearance of wealth. They focus on wealth itself and grow it that way. On average, millionaires spend more time, that's hours per month, studying and planning their financial future, managing current investing, and planning future investment decisions more than high-income non-millionaires. So the millionaires, the millionaire next door may not be high-income earners traditionally, but they are growing their net worth, their equity all the time. whereas other people that are not millionaires who are raking in more and more high-income dollars at high tax rates, they are not planning their financial future as much as the millionaire next door who's building wealth through ownership. Also, people become millionaires by budgeting, planning, and controlling expenses. They maintain their affluent status in the same way. Their parents were frugal, they're frugal, and the studies in these books indicate that the spouse they married is more frugal than them. So we're talking about thinking rich. And remember, compound interest and savings leads to ownership and a sense of purpose and control. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. And remember, new episodes of What's Next with Money are posted on Thursdays.